Hey, what's going on, everybody? Abe Camacho here. And I'm so excited today because I've been hyping up this moment for a long time. Okay, I'm gonna give you guys some backstory before we get into today's episode, okay? Because as you can see all around the marketing of this episode, this podcast has always been called Good Company. But what's kind of weird about this particular idea is that we do this podcast called Good Company and I'm always by myself. But today I have really, really cool news because finally today, I want you guys to meet the co-anchor of this podcast that finally makes it make sense, Good Company. And I'm so pumped because today you guys are going to get to meet one of my best friends in the world, the beard itself, Enoch. What's good, my guy?
Whoa.
Hey,
That was a lot.
that was a good intro.
I think the people are expecting a lot from the beard. So
I think they will get it. Man, I'm so pumped. Can you believe that we're in the Indiana Jones vibe
This is
room?
crazy.
This is wild. I was looking around all of this, and for everybody who is watching live, I mean, you'll get to see some shots, and we have some really cool updates coming up. But today, we want to have a conversation about having conversations.
absolutely.
And I want to dive in, number one, into our friendship, which I think whoever follows me, right? Like I have a lot of followers, whatever. But like whoever's ever been around my world, they've seen you because we go way back. And in fact, Good Company is something that you pretty much came up with and I stole for a long time. So expect a check, once we get sponsors.
Let's go. Royalties.
But today we're gonna get into that, and we're actually talking because we're going to start the podcast together.
Yeah.
And we said, okay, we cannot have a podcast called Good Company without having Good Company. Do you remember how we came up with the name Good Company?
I think it's when we were starting the clothing.
Yeah, we were doing clothing for our church.
We're trying to figure out what's a good name.
Yeah. And then I think we were preaching about bad company corrupts good character.
Yeah.
And I remember you did the photo shoot, right? You were the photographer. And then you labeled all the photos Good Company. And I was like, bro, that's a dope
Sent it
name.
in the email.
Sent it in the email. And I was like, dude, what's Good Company? And you're like, it's the shirts. Oh my God. See, we're going to get into it. But let's go all the way to the beginning. Today's episode is really about us and what we're doing. And I want us to even go back memory lane because sometimes you meet people and you even don't even remember how you met. You got to like pinpoint it. Tell me your story about how we connected, how we met, and maybe it'll make sense with my version as well.
I believe back in the day we met at some church.
Yeah.
And I was helping out.
Yeah.
And I just remember one of those pastors like, hey, we need help.
Yeah.
And we have a campus up north.
How old are we?
I think we were about 20s.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, I need you to go with that guy and go set up something.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know who this guy is, but I've seen him.
You drove.
I drove.
So it was your car.
Because you're like, hey, can you drive? I'm like, yeah, whatever. Sure, I'll drive.
And we went from National City all the way to Escondido.
Escondido.
That was like an hour drive or so?
I think that day was because of traffic.
So, okay, just to put this in perspective, we don't know each other.
No,
And then, just to be fair, you didn't have this beard back then.
no, clean shaven.
I don't think I would get in the car with, like, who's this guy with a beard? And this guy said, hey, you guys, I need you guys to take this to Escondido.
Yeah.
And we got in a car. And I think we just kind of clicked. I think it's because we were in the scene back in the day.
The background.
Explain everybody what the scene is.
The scene is what kids are claiming today to be emo.
Right, but it's not.
It's not.
It's not. The scene was a lifestyle.
guys are wrong.
They're wrong. but like, okay, we were serving at church.
Yeah.
So this is about like 15 years ago. And we're still friends. We went to each other's weddings. Our kids are like best friends. And fun fact, our wives have a podcast together.
Yeah,
They
this is
beat
true.
us to the punch.
But they don't have an Indiana Jones.
They
bro.
do not have Indiana Jones. Okay. I honestly doubt that my wife listens to any of my podcasts. But babe, if you're listening, we got to support one another. But they have their podcast called Girlfriend Club,
Which
with
is awesome.
with Carrie. Carrie's the co-host as well. And they do a really cool job. Dude, that's wild. And it's crazy for me to think that going to church can put you around people that can become your best friends. And 15 years later, we're here having a conversation now, and we're saying, okay, we're gonna do a podcast and we're gonna get into it. And we've always talked about like, okay, what would our podcast be about? And every time we have a conversation, which I mean, maybe we can dive into our weekly conversations because we basically have like a 2-hour conversation every single week. So talk to us about that. How did that even start?
I believe is you just had Lux, Abe's first daughter, and one day I just got sick of going from the house to church.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people out there, you get up, you're not in the best mood.
Right.
And you show up to any public space and you're grumpy and you're not your best. And you know you're not your best. So I'm like, how could I be a better person? So I'm like, first thing I'm do is coffee.
Yeah.
So I decided I'm going to drive, get coffee every Sunday.
Yeah.
And then you were here in downtown. So I was like, hey, do you want to get coffee?
Yeah.
Because I get coffee and I feel better.
Yes.
And you're like, sure.
Yes. So now we've been doing this for years now. Every single Sunday we have coffee before we go to church.
Absolutely.
Because we know some people that get to church on a Sunday and they're just grumpy. Okay. And I'm being like PG because it's like
It's more than grumpy.
there's people that carry an attitude and it's almost like they don't take responsibility.
Spoil the mood.
They spoil the mood. And I really like that you took like that responsibility. You were like, hey, like let's get ourselves right before getting to church. And I think that's something where I want to land today.
Yeah.
Because church has always been like part of our it's part of our friendship, part of who we are. We love church.
Yeah.
But church doesn't mean, church people are not perfect. We're not perfect. And I think that's what I love about our church, that we're not perfect. Perfect people are not allowed. The moment a perfect person comes in, they mess it all up. There's no such thing. And I kind of wanted to get your take on this. Even though today might be, honestly, for me, I'm a little intimidated by this room.
This is
you know
crazy.
what I mean? But every single Sunday, I mean, we talk all the time.
Yep.
And you're one of my favorite meme senders. You know, you keep my energy up, and I feel like everybody needs a friend like Enoch that is a good meme sender.
Absolutely.
But I do want to talk about something that we talk about all the time, and it's about how church can get a little bit weird. Okay,
Absolutely.
Church can get a little bit weird.
Yes.
And I kind of just want to open up the floodgates, bro, because I feel like this is what that podcast is going to be about.
Yeah.
Not so much how, weird church can be, but it's part of our lifestyle. And I think a lot of our friends and people that we roll with our community, we sometimes struggle to even get connected with church because not that we don't connect or engage with Jesus or the word or our own personal vision, but sometimes people can make it difficult.
Yeah.
Let's talk about difficult people in the church. What's your gut telling you about that right now?
The first thing that comes to mind is when you get, like we said, there's no perfect people at all. Absolutely not. And my experience from back then is you get to church and you're like, how's it going to that person?
Yes.
As soon as you get there and they're like, blessed and highly favored.
They go from English and they respond in Christianese.
I don't know what that means. Like, I've been a Christian a very long time.
Nobody knows what it means.
I don't know what that means.
But it's provocative.
And it gets the people going. And to me, that's not a real response.
It's not real.
It could be like, hey, this morning sucked.
Yes.
But you know what? It's getting better. You're here, so I'm better.
Because when people say blessed and highly favored, I know what you're trying to say. Hey, well, actually, I don't know what you're trying to say.
I don't know what you're trying to say.
Because their face is at the Fuchi stage. But your tongue is at Christianese. You're saying blessed and highly favored. What's another weird thing that Christians say that you've noticed? Maybe not what they say. Maybe what's something weird that Christians do? I'll think about it. I'll think about it too.
Well, another thing.
Bumper stickers for me.
Is it the bumper stickers?
Bumper stickers for me. Like, how can you give me the bird and have a Jesus fish in your car at the same time?
It doesn't make sense.
How can a demon and an angel live in the same car?
They can't.
They cannot.
They can't occupy the same space.
It's like, bro, like some of the worst drivers that I've encountered
Christians
have a Jesus fish. Bro, it is.
I don't know if the kid takes the car that's mom's car and just giving a bad rep to the family.
That's what it is.
But then you see that person later and you're like, oh no, that's absolutely you.
Kids, if you're watching this, stop stealing your mom's car with the Jesus fish and flipping people off. Okay,
It's not a great
It's
look.
not cute. It's not honor Jesus.
Especially during the holidays.
Especially during the holidays, especially now. What's okay? I'll tell you something. It's almost like we're just gonna go down a list right now of the things that kind of irk us a little bit. Not to throw shade.
No.
I already feel like we're gonna get canceled for all of this. But I want to talk about an experience that I lived through. Okay, the church skit. Okay, the church skit era, and I'll tell you something that it's like a guilty pleasure, a guilty truth of mine. Right now, as an adult.
Okay.
Right now, as a person that I believe that I have good taste. Okay, I married the best woman that I know. I have good taste in food and music. I am not a fan of the church skits, but if I can confess something, I was always deeply hurt when I wasn't picked to be a part of the church skit. Because in that day, if you were in the church skit, you were in. Were you ever in a church skit?
No, because I wasn't cool enough.
You weren't cool enough?
Nope.
You didn't have the beard back then.
No, just plain face.
If you would, plain face, don't get no skits.
I didn't know enough Bible verses.
No, you didn't. Bro, the church skit that was my favorite one is when, okay, Evanescence,
Easter.
wake me up inside, and they put chains on you, and people are like pulling you back. And then at the end, Jesus comes and saves you.
And he just magically was, and people fall.
And then the chains fall off. That's my favorite church skit, okay? That's been a cringy memory of mine. In fact, not to put her on blast, but my wife, Crystal, was in that skit. And she was part of a church that was really cool growing up for that era. Right now, all the things that were cool back then are kind of cringe now, right? But back then, it was really cool. And I want to hear about your first impression of going to a church, but I'll tell you mine.
With the skit, or just in general?
Just in general. Because, okay, I wanna maybe help some people out who are maybe leading churches or are leading at any capacity at a church that maybe they're not aware of. But like people make up their minds about churches within the first 10 minutes of walking in. Absolutely. And sometimes those 10 minutes could be the weirdest 10 minutes. Can I tell you about my first time I walked into the church where I met my wife? I walked into a youth night. And they said, you got to come because you got to get your life right. And I'm like, fine, I'm going to give it a shot.
Sure.
I walked into church and there was 5 dudes on stage dressed like the Spice Girls. I cannot make this up. There was 5 dudes on stage.
Halloween.
Like they told me I needed to get my life right. And there was a dude with a crop top and a mini skirt on stage.
Girls.
Spice Girls. I was like, I'm in. It's like, bro, like I'm over here thinking that my life's messed up and I'm coming in and you got guys dressed like girls. Now back then, it wasn't like a big deal.
Yeah.
Like they're playing fun. And I liked it. I'm like, these people don't take themselves too seriously.
Serious.
What was like one of your first impressions that you remember of church?
When I think I was probably middle school. And I went into a youth night and they had this thing called like sports night.
Yeah.
And you go in, I was new, didn't know anybody. And there's these leaders, except they weren't Spice Girls. They were all like retro gym with the shorts.
Yeah.
And tight athletic shirts.
Yeah.
And I just remember just being grabbed and being like, you're on this team. This is your group. This is so-and-so. And this is life. This is your team. And that's captain. And from that moment.
Like they made you participate in stuff?
Yeah, they just dragged me in.
And you were cool with it?
I mean, not really, but I was super introverted. I'm there for the first time.
Were you peer pressured into Jesus, man?
Maybe I have some trauma. But I think what I walked away with is that up until that point in middle school, I was kind of put off by people. Don't talk to me.
Sure.
Real scene, you know?
Yeah.
And then I walked away with a great memory because I'm like, they forced me in.
Yeah.
But I became part of a team and I did walk away with some new friends.
That's cool. How old were you?
I was
or what age? I mean, what
I was like
grade?
14, 15.
That's high school.
Yeah, I think that's freshman.
You know what I'm realizing is we both came to church on like an event. And I think right now in today's day and age, people put down the event-driven church. And I think that there is such thing as doing too much.
Yeah.
Too much events where like I have a big belief that how you bring someone in is how you're going to keep them. So if you have to put on a show to bring them,
You gotta put on a show to keep them.
you got to put on a show to keep them. And sometimes, number one, that's expensive. That's not doable. And that's not what we do.
Yeah.
But it kind of worked. It kind of worked. And right now in today's day and age, it's like, it's almost like you're either an event church or not.
Yep.
And there is like this battle between styles of churches. And there's like an identity crisis because everyone says my way is the right way. And we keep on criticizing the other one. I don't think that's fair that you take a stand. I don't think there's any right way of doing church because everyone's so different. And I think what worked for us, I mean, I don't think I would have connected with the sports thing. I'm not much of a sports guy. I'd be like, sport, I get it. But like, I'm a music guy. I saw
Spice Girls.
I saw Spice Girls. I'm like, I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. You know what I mean?
I want to be here.
I want to be here. I was young and impressionable as well, though. But it was good. Talk to me about that. Like right now, I feel like churches can get very competitive. They can get very territorial. It's a problem.
Like you said, it's like, I put it to coffee.
Yep.
There's so many coffee shops here in San Diego, and they all do it different.
Yep.
And some do compete amongst each other because, like, nah, my latte art is better, or my oat milk's better than your oat milk. It's like, but everybody's serving the same thing.
Right.
But it comes to like the aesthetics.
Right.
Like, oh, this is what we believe in.
Yes.
We think this is cool. This is what we're all about. And I think where people get lost about serving Jesus is that they think it's just one way.
Yeah.
And it should be the skit way, and it should be the highly driven this way. But no, we've been to coffee shops and like, this is not my aesthetic.
Yeah.
But they're about what they say.
Yeah.
It's coffee. Purity about the coffee. Pure coffee. I'm not talking about Starbucks. And I appreciate when somebody is truly immersed in what they really believe in.
Yeah.
And I'll take that cup and I like it.
That's true. It's like, don't try to appease me or please me.
No.
Give me you. Give me who you are. And I think, I mean, honestly, I, for a long time, tried to be the type of church leader that I'm like, man, I got to be all things for all people.
Everybody.
But when you try to reach everybody, you connect with no one.
No.
And then I realized, okay, when I'm going to do me, I'm going to dress like me. And I get a lot of feedback on sometimes the things that I wear when
I support you.
Yeah, appreciate it. But by the way, this is me in No Shave November.
This is great.
And just for context, Enoch and I started growing our beards the same day. and like people give me like lip about what I wear, but I realized like it's not your cup of tea, then don't drink it.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've gone to coffee shops where maybe I don't like it, I don't love it, because for me, like, okay, a good coffee shop, like anything else, it's about the aesthetic.
Music.
But the music, I'm like, did they play music? I've asked you that before. You tell me about a coffee shop, I'm like, what's the playlist like? 'Cause I need to know.
Yep.
And I feel like I'm at the point in life, and I think like everyone at some point gets to that point in life when you gotta go find somewhere where you belong.
Absolutely.
And if you don't belong, don't belong.
It's great.
So that's kind of me. Talking about coffee, what is your favorite coffee shops right now? Just give me 3 because there's like 1,000.
But right now, 3 off the rip. It's Provecho Coffee, Barrio
Amazing.
Logan. Love it there.
Amazing.
Shout out Gerardo. And I would have to say, I found this new spot. It's great. Called Selva Coffee
Selva.
down in Point Loma.
Sounds exotic.
It is exotic. And Mnemonic.
Mnemonic. Did you just say
With an N.
Did you just say demonic?
Mnemonic Coffee out in Bakersfield.
Yes.
Absolutely delicious.
I think you just put everybody up on game.
You're welcome.
So whoever's ready to really find Jesus and
You know
leave
where to go.
Starbucks, this is where you go.
It's great.
That's cool, man. We were talking on the way here, man, about how sometimes even in the church world, it's still dealing with people. And where there's, more people, more problems.
Absolutely.
Now, I want to be fair, right? Because I feel like there's also the type of leaders that go, viral because they're just complaining about Christians. That's not what this is about. This is not what that is, because I'm on the same camp of like more people, more problems. Sure.
Yep.
But hey, more people, more love,
opportunity.
more people, more opportunity, more people, more memories, more people, more life. Like I feel like it's a sad life to live it alone. I feel like you're not really winning if you're like winning alone. Like I'd rather, there's this great thought, right? That like when you are with the right people, it doesn't matter where you're going. It's going to be a party.
Absolutely.
There's nothing worse than being in a really cool spot with whack people, with people that don't get you, with people that have no chemistry with you, because they kind of spoil the fun. But like you and I have gone to trips. I want to talk about the Arizona trip right now on our ride back. Bro, we're out there in the middle of the desert and having fun. Can you tell everybody about our encounter on the drive back from Arizona?
There's this, what was it, Mexican folk tale about this thing called El Chupacabra.
El Chupis. Absolutely.
People say it's not real.
You know what? I used to be one of those non-believers.
And people only reference Netflix. Haven't watched it, but we were out. We were out there.
Yes.
And on the way back,
we went to Arizona to do an event.
Yes.
Yes.
And then we were back. We were fully awake.
Yep. Fully awake.
People say things, but they're kind of sleepy.
True.
Fully awake.
Fully caffeinated.
And you were driving. I was passenger. And we're driving. It's already about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, from my perspective.
Yep. You tell your perspective and I'll tell mine.
And I saw this thing run across the street and look at me. But I didn't say nothing.
Yes.
Because I don't want to sound crazy.
You saw something run across the freeway.
Something.
Can you describe this thing that you saw?
It was running on its hind legs.
On his hind legs.
With his arms up.
T-Rex
and
style.
He stared.
He looked at you.
And then just kept running. And I just stayed silent.
Got it. And you stayed silent. Let me tell you my point of view. I was driving back from Arizona. I was driving. You were there. We were fully caffeinated. I saw the exact same thing. You know what that thing was? Chupacabras. It was a chupacabras.
Absolutely.
100%.
It's real.
I will on the life of my children.
Fight me.
Chupacabras is real.
In Arizona.
He's in Arizona. Bro, it was the weirdest feeling. I don't even know how you get from talking to Jesus about El Chupacabras.
But we're here.
But we're here and it's possible. I believe God made El Chupacabras. Why are we saying it with that accent? Chupacabras, compa. You know what I mean?
Porque somos mexicanos.
Porque somos paisas. You see, we're international. But I don't even know how we got to that story. What were we talking about
Talking
before?
about not doing life alone.
Not doing life alone. You see, we were out there. Imagine me
We get lost.
seeing El Chupacabras by myself. I would go crazy.
Who's going to believe you?
Nobody would believe me. I would be an outcast of society. I mean, because I saw it with my friend. I think we're pioneers now. We're explorers.
We discovered
El Chupacabras.
Mark this day.
And we were talking, I remember on the way here, we're this amazing space downtown San Diego.
Beautiful.
And we were walking and trying to find parking because it's an issue. So we parked a couple blocks. So we were just kind of talking about our situation at our church, how we have people, and when you deal with people, it takes a special patience, right? Like I think we said, if you said it, you mentioned it. It's like we're in the people business.
Yep.
We're in the people business. Not that it's a business, but it's the people. That's what we do. I think when you set out to build a church, we're not talking about a building. We're not talking about a program. We're talking about building with people. Build the people. People build the church. Yeah. Church for me is not where we go. It's who we are. It could be wherever. But it's difficult. It's difficult working with people because everyone comes with their own expectations. Yeah. What are some of the challenges that you think people have coming to church? Like, why do you think people struggle so much being part of a team or getting engaged with church? Because we have so many people in the world that are casual Christians, right? Yeah. Like, they go on Easter, they go on Christmas, and it's no fault to them. Yeah. But for you and me, we found something that's beyond. I mean, we found our best friends there. I found my wife there. You know what I mean? It's like we found so much. And as like satisfied customers, quote unquote, I'm like, man, like This is where it's at.
Yeah.
Why do you think people struggle sometimes to engage in a community of faith?
I'm going to lean on the sports because I used to play basketball. And I remember we had one coach, and he did his plays this way. His practices are like this. You show up like this. This is the attitude and this is the culture. And one year he was removed and we got somebody new. And he had a different playbook, but the team struggled to be cohesive.
Yeah.
And we rejected it. And not that he had malintention. He was ready to coach us, but he came with a different playbook. I think people go with the expectation, kind of like we were talking about the coffee. They go in and this is what I like. This is my aesthetic. Coffee should be served to me in this cup, in this ceramic, in this weight and everything. But that's not what they're about. They're selling this. This is their product. I think people struggle because they have this own idea of how things should be.
Yep.
Instead of learning and taking the time to get to know what culture and what playbook, so to say, in sports does this church do?
Right.
And see if I can fit in here.
Yes.
Instead of trying to change the entire place to make it fit them.
That is so good. And you're so right about the style. I always tell people at our church, we have people visiting every single Sunday. And I'm like, please go check out and experience all of your options.
Yeah.
Imagine you married your first girlfriend.
Dear God.
Oh my goodness. Talk about thank God for the doors he opens. Thank God for the doors he closes. My God.
Thank you, Lord.
Be careful what you pray for. Sometimes people come to church and they love it because it's different. And then they're complaining because it's not like their ex.
Yeah.
And we kill what I believe is meant to be a blessing.
Yeah.
Because we curse it with comparison. We come to a new spot, a new church, a new community. We're like, oh my God, I love it because it's so cool. And then you're like, eh. Eventually they get to everyone says, back in my old church, in my old pastor,
the famous phrase.
my oldest, and like my old, well, then go, you know where you need to be next week?
Go back.
You can go back. Because it's like, bro, like, I remember I was a youth pastor. You were a youth pastor for a while. I remember that was a funny story. But I remember I got a great advice from one of my friends that was a youth pastor as well. He says, don't let the popular girl lead. And what they meant is that a lot of times as leaders, instead of serving people, we want to please people. So all our lives becomes asking, what's the hottest thing? What's the coolest thing? And we want to please the cool people.
Yep.
But the problem is that now we start chasing trends. And when you start going after the trends, you start falling into traps. I believe that the trendy life is a life full of traps because they change all the time.
Absolutely.
Then you become a person that is trying to please everybody and you lose your identity. So many leaders are lost in the sauce of culture.
Yep.
And you can tell. They all start dressing alike. They all start sounding alike.
Yep.
They all start preaching alike. And at some point, I'm like, then what's the point? I remember when we started launching our church, and I mean, we've been dreaming about this for years. I was like, if we're just gonna start another one, then what's the point of starting? If you have nothing to say for yourself. And I think like you have such a unique style. And you know, everywhere we go, like we've traveled, we've done our thing. We've gone to a lot of spaces, and like might be the beard, might be that like I usually wear like muted tones, you know, black, white, and I'll go as, you know, beige and brown is like, this is me being adventurous. But you're not afraid of wearing like the neon colors or whatever. How do you find that comfort on being yourself? Like is it at some you stop caring what people say, or is it just you don't have that nerve in you? And can people just learn to be uniquely themselves?
I've had this question a lot because of that.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you put that together?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, like what do you read? And I'm like, I don't read nothing. There's a few people out there, I'm not going to mention names, but we know who they are. They're like, oh, this season's palette is XYZ.
Yep.
And people are wearing XYZ.
Right.
But as culture and times have showed, is that things come back.
Yeah.
All the time.
Right.
When they're like, oh, like, you're wearing that. I'm like, you're eventually gonna wear it in like 3 months.
Yes.
As soon as your influencer tells you what
True.
to wear, you're gonna wear it.
Haven't you noticed that? Like you'll start doing something and people hate on it. 3 months later, they're doing it.
Yeah.
And so with you, you're like unapologetically you. You have your own brand.
I just decided one day to stop chasing the trend because it's like it gets tiresome.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you need to wear this with this to fit in and be in the Instagram photos. And I'm like, nah. So one day I decided, all right, I like this clothes. I'm gonna go with this. And what I truly, really care about is how I feel. And a lot of people ask me like, oh, so what's the difference between like style and fashion? Fashion for me is just like trends. This is what's in. Style is kind of what you make it.
Yeah.
And I put this on. This is what I like. And I like it. I like what I like.
Yeah.
And it translates to your person.
Right.
Because we've all seen people wear certain designer and they look uncomfortable.
Yes.
Because that's not what they like. It's and I think it translates to church as well. It's like you put on what you like, and this is the space that I like, and I feel comfortable here, and I can be myself here. Instead of trying to whatever the world coolest church should be.
Sure.
Versus how I really feel and what place that I truly deem is like where I want to be.
And you said it so well. I've seen people, and I want to talk about pastors and leaders at conferences.
Oh, this is great.
So,
Skinny jeans.
bro, we'll get there. But it just to your point that is so good. People sometimes will put on the trendy thing, and they look uncomfortable. We're not hating on style.
No.
We're not hating on the designer. But like sometimes it's just not a match. Like my body, I wish like I'll go to the mall and I'll look at the mannequin and I'm like, that's a dope outfit. But I put it on and I'm like, how come it don't look like it looked like on the mannequin? Because we're not built the same.
No.
My body's different. And sometimes we try to force things on us and it looks silly.
Yeah.
And this is where you need good company. If someone tells me you look awful, but I don't know you, you could just be a hater.
Yeah.
But when you're good company, when your friend tells you, hey, my
Says
guy, then you gotta listen. This is why you do need that good company. I want to pivot into the conference culture. Conference culture. Okay.
What's in the backpack?
Let's just start. Okay. For you, what are conference red flags? What are some church conference red? What are some good church conference red flags? You can spot them a mile away. What are some things that you look at and you're like, my God,
I can already feel the pastors watching.
Let's get canceled.
All right, let's go. Is when any pastoral person shows up and they got 6 people behind them that are wearing the exact same outfit.
Like when I see that, I ask myself, am I in danger too? Because you have a gang with you. You brought the whole posse. Like, is there a death threat on your life? Who's trying to get this pastor?
I don't know.
Like, who's trying to kill this man?
Did you all shop at the same place?
And they all look the same. You start looking like your friends.
Yeah.
But the whole posse thing. Okay, I have a question. What's in the backpacks?
I don't know. This is the question that has stunted me for years. I think the backpack's empty.
No, it can't be. Don't tell me people go to conferences and have a cool backpack with nothing in it.
And it always seems to be the last person has the backpack on.
It's almost like did you see Sons of Anarchy? It's almost like it's like a patch thing. What do you call when you start? You are
Chapter?
a prospect.
Okay,
You're a
prospect.
prospect in the chapter, and they make you wear like a big old patch. It's almost like
backpack.
when you're learning how to drive as a student driver. It's like I'm learning how to drive. When you carry the backpack, it's saying I'm learning how to pastor.
Yeah.
Because how can you pastor if you don't carry a backpack?
You don't know how to wear a backpack.
If you can't rock a backpack, you can't lead a church.
Absolutely.
That's in the Bible somewhere.
You'll find it.
I think the backpack is empty. The grave is empty, and so is the backpack.
Hey.
I found my Easter message.
There you go.
Okay, so the posse, and then now I'll tell you one. I'm cool with you rocking brand names. I'm not a fashionista. Okay. But if you're rocking Gucci, Like, that's really cool. Hey, that's dope. Hey, do you? That's Gucci. But they're wearing like the
Head
billboard.
to toe.
I'm wondering if these men are sponsored. Do you think they're sponsored?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Then why are they being why are they being billboards for free?
Instead of Jesus.
Okay, give me one more red flag about the conferences.
Oh my God.
We already did the backpack
I mean,
and the posse.
especially now, 2023.
Yep.
Red flag off it.
Yep.
Not unless you're coming from like England or Australia.
Sure.
From here
Yep.
is the skinny jeans and Chelsea boots.
The skinny jeans and Chelsea boots.
But if they're like over 30,
Yes. It's allowed if they're over 30?
it's not allowed.
It's not allowed over 30.
It's gone.
What do we do with our boots now? Do you still have a pair of boots?
I do for weddings.
I have a pair of boots. I believe somewhere in my closet, like in the top part in the back, I have Chelsea boots just in case they come back.
Yeah. It all comes back.
I have one more red flag and then we'll get off the
All right,
culture
let's
thing.
go.
This one kind of bugs me personally. I don't know if you've noticed, like, no, we're not even going to get into it. We're not going to get into it. We're not going to get into it. I am not going to get canceled on the first episode. Let's see if we
Next
make it.
episode.
Let's see if we make it to the next episode.
Yeah.
But it's good.
I think the people want more.
Absolutely. What are some of the things that you're excited about right now this season for church culture? What are you seeing that you enjoy?
I'm excited. It might sound weird because I feel like there's people out there confused about where church is currently. I don't think it's like really defined. It's kind of just out there. Like there's this Jesus guy and he's good.
Yep.
And he's going to come through for me. But there's like no, like, I hate using churchy words, or like a mantle, like something to look at. And I'm excited that there's an opportunity for us personally as our church is to really define what Christianity is currently and where it should go.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that looks like yet, but we've been brewing. And I think what we're working on and what we are working towards
Yeah.
is what I'm most excited about, especially with the good group of people that we have at church. They're amazing.
Yep.
The opportunity we have in San Diego is what I'm excited about.
That's great. And it's true because I remember when we kind of set out to start this church, right? It's a journey. We committed to it. I don't think we would have started it if what God placed in our hearts already existed. And I feel like that's something that's so beautiful that God does.
Yeah.
He puts new things in the hearts of people, and then it's up to us to build it.
Yeah.
And I honestly believe that the future of the church is not going to look like anything that we've seen in the past.
No.
There's a big difference between creativity and innovation. I believe there's a lot of creativity in the church. Creativity means you and I see what church is. We can make it cooler. We can do the same thing and make it cool.
Yeah.
But innovation means, hey, I'm building something that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I've never seen it. There is no reference, but I can't see it in my heart because I heard God told me about it. And for us in our church, that's how we have meetings. And I want to talk about the meetings because, like, I think you and I, especially, we kind of coined this thing that we don't do meetings, we just do life.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing. And this frustrates a lot of people that are more type A than we are. And I get it because we have a lot of great people in our community that are really smart, really sharp.
Yeah.
That without them, this thing wouldn't exist. But with us, we just dream. We just figure it out. We just dream it. And then we realize, hey, what I'm dreaming about, you're dreaming about. And then we found other people along the journey that they got the same dream, but it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So we started to build it. And now we're starting to see it. It's been some of the best times that I've had. Our church has been around now for 2 years. And it's been the best 2 years of my life. Not to knock the past, not to knock where we've been.
No.
But it's more like, I believe that the grass is greener where you water it. I believe that the good times are right now.
Absolutely.
And so many people live their lives not in the moment. They're either anxious about the future or regretful about the past.
Can't enjoy the present.
But your regret can't change the past and your anxiety can't change the future. But it robs you from the moment.
Yeah.
And this is all we got. I believe that the past made me who I am, but who I am now is going to dictate what I'm going to build. And we need more people that build.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that's kind of lost. I feel like there's not enough builders out there. I think there's a lot of people that are talking from the cheap seats.
Yeah.
But no one on, like, I heard this and it marked me. He said, all the talk from the seats does not add even 1 point on the scoreboard. And that hit me.
Yeah.
Because there's way more people just kind of watching people live.
Yeah.
And they have comments, and we're probably gonna get some comments on
Absolutely.
this episode. But I'm like, dude, that doesn't change nothing. Then you do something.
Yep.
Then you build something. And I don't know why we're in that time where we've glorified the people that have something to say but have nothing to show for it. And I think that we got to build something. We have an opportunity to build something that's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to start wrapping it up. We're gonna start landing the plane.
Sure.
But this is really for everybody listening. It's like we are going to have to discuss if we're going to keep this going. And we want to hear from you if you think that we should, if you like this thing, if you just want to hear us rant all the time. But Enoch, let's dream. What are some things that we should be talking about in the next few episodes that we could talk about?
I think we're going to heavily get into movies, TV shows.
Yes.
And lots of more music. Lots of church. What do they call them? Church icks?
Yeah,
What
church
do we
icks
call
and
it?
I don't know, churchisms.
People want to know.
But yeah, I think good company is a space where we can come and talk. And I feel like it's cool, right? Like that we're working hard at building this and connecting with people. We want to build a community and bring everybody in, and we'll have some guests as well.
Yeah.
And I don't think we've talked about it before. And I'm always like, dude, should it be like a church podcast? And it's like, nah. But church is just such a part of our community and our lifestyle. But I love when we talk about food, coffee, movies, and I think it's going to be such an exciting adventure.
I think it's what you said earlier, is that people want to know you.
Yeah,
Authentic,
that's right.
not perfect. We're not perfect Christians.
No.
And I think people want to know that there are other people out there living life, doing normal things.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure this will get into the next podcast.
Yes.
But the church has made church look like this thing that you have take like 10 steps to get here.
Right.
And it's not. I'm a normal dude.
Right.
I'm a dad.
Yes.
I drink coffee.
Yes.
I laugh at corny stuff. I
Yes.
say corny stuff.
Yeah.
But I look cool.
Yes.
And people can gravitate towards that. Oh,
Yes.
I'm like that.
Yes.
I don't levitate off the ground. I don't
Not all
I don't
the time.
got the
If the coffee's good, then you
don't
would.
got the craziest wisdom.
Yes.
I'm just a normal guy.
And I love that because everything you said, I agree with.
Yeah.
And this is what this podcast is about. It's good company. If you're not perfect, you're in good company.
Yeah.
So we want to finish this whole thing. We want to thank everyone that took the time to listen and watch.
Yeah.
And we really want to build this and commit. I think this is going to be our year where we go from talk to walk and we actually make it happen. So we want to thank every single one of you for listening, or if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much for spending time with us, getting to know us.
love you.
And we're excited to get to know you. But please do us a favor. This whole podcast, the only way it grows is if you can share the word, share with your friends. If you feel like this can impact someone in your life, we're excited to come at you again really soon with another episode of Good Company. So subscribe, like it, rate it, share it. You know what to do. Share it. I wouldn't say on your feed, but at least on your stories.
Yeah.
Hook us up. We love you so much. We'll see you on the next one.
Love y'all.